Recently, in my relative's $40,000 stock portfolio that I manage, I've had to face the dilemma of whether I should reinvest the dividends or not. A lot of newer dividend investors also are confused if you should reinvest the dividend or just take it in cash. So in today's video, we'll be going over the circumstances in which you should or should not reinvest your dividends. Before the video starts, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you find content about dividend growth investing and updates on dividend stocks informative. With that out of the way, roll the intro.
Hello, I like money.
To start off, you got to look at how much money you actually got in your dividend stocks. If you have a portfolio under like $100,000, your dividend income probably isn't that significant, so it's probably just the best idea to, let compound interest do its work and reinvest the dividends. But if your portfolio is, higher in value and you're actually using the money to live off dividends, pay for your bills, etc., it's a good idea not to reinvest those dividends if it's funding your lifestyle. Next, you got to look at the individual positions and realize if you're going to be holding them for more than a decade. For example, for me personally, I don't know if I'll be holding AT&T or Altria for the next decade. So if I did have, more than $100,000 in my portfolio and I was getting significant dividend income from those positions, I probably would just reinvest the money elsewhere. The next circumstance is kind of an obvious one, but like what your situation and what your age is. For me personally, I'm really young, I'm really long-term focused, so, it makes sense for me just to reinvest the dividends. It's not like I need the income right now either because I don't have a lot of expenses. If you're, closer to retirement and you need the income, Social Security isn't, exactly funding your lifestyle, then it's probably a good idea not to reinvest the dividends, use it to fund your lifestyle. Next, you're going to want to look at the 5-year CAGR of the dividend. This basically shows on average how much, your individual stock will, grow their dividend. For example, you got companies like, Visa and AbbVie where it's near like 12.5 to 17.5%, which is really good. And then you got companies like AT&T where it's like 1%. So that's definitely a factor to keep in mind because those dividend increases, they'll increase over time and they'll really definitely contribute to, compound interest. Now, here's a clip from Warren Buffett on what he does with his dividends and why.
Mr. Buffett, when your mentor, Ben Graham, believed in dividends?
Well, I had to show a little individuality in some respect. The answer is I do believe in dividends in a great many situations, including many of the ones, companies in which we own stock. The test about whether to pay dividends is whether you can continue to create more than $1 of value for every dollar you retain. And there are many businesses. Take See's Candy, which we own. See's Candy has paid everything virtually out to us that they've earned because they do not have the ability within See's Candy to use large sums, which they earn, intelligently in their business. So it would be an enormous mistake for See's Candy to retain money. So they distributed Berkshire, and we hope that we move that around in some other area where that dollar becomes worth $1.10 or $1.20 in terms of present value terms. If we do that, the shareholder, whether they're taxable or whether they're not taxable, whether they're a foundation or whether they're living on income even, they are better off if we retain the money.
Zach from Dividend Data made a really good analogy on this, is that you should view your own dividend portfolio as like a mini Berkshire Hathaway. Ideally, you should reinvest all your dividends just for compound interest to do its work unless you need the money. If you believe strongly in the individual stock that you own and want to reinvest the dividend, it probably would be the best time to do that. Or if you got a bit of a riskier company like AT&T or Altria, you might not 100% believe in that company for the next century, take that money out, do whatever you'd like with it. Put it into another company, use it for whatever you want. Personally, my portfolio is only about $14,000, so I'm not making the big bread right now with the dividend income. Right now, my goal is just to buy really high quality businesses and invest in stocks that are highly out of favor by the market. And by the market, I mean institutional investors. Here's a chart of the S&P 500 without dividends reinvested versus the dividends reinvested. This is over a 40-year time span, and I think really, backs up my point that if you're young and, long-term focused, you don't want to sell any of your stocks, you should probably just reinvest the dividends. You can see majorly here that the dividends reinvested outpace the dividends not reinvested. But I think a time where you shouldn't reinvest the dividend is if you see better opportunities elsewhere. It's kind of the same with like selling one of my positions for me personally, like if I get $15 from, Altria and I can reinvest it back into Apple and I'll get more growth, capital appreciation wise and dividend growth wise, I'm probably just going to put it back into Apple. But I think if you see companies trading at like really cheap PE multiples, I think that would be a good time to put your dividend into that stock. Another example, if I get like $100 from Coke right now and Apple somehow went down to $100, I'd put it into Apple for sure. But I think for all portfolios, you should definitely reinvest your dividends if you plan on holding the stock for at least more than 10 years. For me personally, I want to get to the point where I'm just reinvesting my dividends for, a comfortable salary for some people. I want to get to the point where I can use my dividends to fuel other investments that would cost more money, for example, real estate. I love dividends so much because it's really just passive income, You don't have to put any extra work to get that money. If you choose the right companies, look carefully and do your research, there's a good chance you aren't going to really, lose money. Dividend investing pays you while you're sleeping, and over time, you're going to create generational wealth using it. That's going to wrap up the video, guys. Let me know in the comments section if you guys are reinvesting your dividends, what you're doing with your dividends. I'd love to know. I really appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you find content about dividend investing valuable, subscribe, turn on post notifications, smash the like button while you're at it. I'd really appreciate it. Share the video with a friend that you think could, benefit from this. And of course, do dividend stocks, not drugs. I upload every Tuesday and Saturday. Have a good one.